Today, we're going to be talking about finding your forum. We are all artists and creators in this world, and it's up to us to find the platform, the forum, the voice within us, and express ourselves to the world at large. It's important to me because for years, I told myself I wasn't good enough. I convinced myself and others around me repeatedly that I wasn't creative. I wasn't an artist. I didn't have a creative bone in my body. My sister, she's an interior designer. She went to school for design and she always was drawing and doing the artsy things. My youngest brother is an artist. He's got a woodworking business like Winter, and he takes old wood. It started with pallets and he created mountains and mountain landscapes and things. And then now he does a bunch of things, all with reclaimed lumber. And then my middle brother, Tyler, who's the artist featured in the opening song to the Experience Andy Wines Live, he's a musician and he paints and does other things, but music is his primary form. And I had convinced myself for years that I wasn't creative. I wasn't an artist. I had no talent or ability when it came to art and creativity. I looked at it as I'm a logistics person and I find problems, I solve problems, and that's what I do. And because I convinced myself of that, I never put myself out there. It was an easy cop out. The reality was, I wrote a poem in high school that was published that I was very proud of, and I meant a lot to me because I was speaking about growing up in the woods and nature and things that really I enjoyed. And as I got through my early to mid 20s, I realized that there was a lot of public speaking opportunities, and it scared the hell out of me. I struggled in Speech 101, Milwaukee Area Technical College, and yet I loved it. I wasn't good at it. I was shaken. I was nervous, and most people are, and yet I enjoyed it. And then I got into networking and business, and I would go to events and I would listen to people speak on stage, and I'm like, I can do that. There's nothing they're doing up there that I'm not capable of. I have a perspective. I have a view of the world that I want to share. I have some depth of knowledge. Why not me? And it was from that place of pain, seeing other people on stage when I thought I should be up there. I transformed that pain into passion to define my purpose, which eventually led to me doing a TEDx years ago, 2019. And all the speaking before that, I'd done speaking and I got used to it, whether it was on panels, and then I started doing keynotes, and then COVID happened and I did virtual stuff. And even now, I'm doing workshops and I'm doing this show once a week where I'm saying, okay, my creative outlet is taking in the world and expressing myself verbally. Coming up with an idea. Earlier today, Taylor, our producer, he always texts me around 11:30, 1 o'clock-ish, somewhere in that range. Hey, Andy, what's the topic for today? And I was driving at the time. I thought, okay, find your forum. Let's talk about why do I do this? And how is it relevant to other people? And how can I express myself in others so that they pave their own path? I'm not asking to have others follow in my footsteps. I'm challenging you to pave your own path with your own mindset. And what is your creative outlook? I've been told time and time again, most people can't get in front of a microphone or get in front of an audience with a single topic and start talking. And for me, I love that. I love the idea of starting a conversation and not knowing where it's going. Like Michael Scott talks about in The Office, it's like, sometimes I start a sentence that I don't know where it's going, right? And even this show, when people are like, hey, where are you going with this show? Or where are you going with the individual shows? I don't know. And that's part of the creative process. The difference is a lot of artists do their things on the side. They write in their journal, they paint, they sing only in their bedrooms where no one can judge them. And my challenge to you is simple. Get out there in the world, sing your fucking song, and let the world tell you you're tone deaf. Because the only person in this world you need to impress is yourself. It reminded me of a quote, and I looked it up before this because this was my research. I do my research from the time the song starts until I say, all right, here we are in another episode, right? So in my basic research, there's a saying, I've heard it 100 times. My dad gave me this saying on a piece of paper he cut from a newspaper because he's old school, right before I did a 90 ideas in 90 minutes keynote, or a keynote presentation. Keynote's a stretch. And so it was nine business people with 10 different ideas, 90 ideas, carry the one, you get the hillbilly math. So I had 10 ideas. And as I was getting up on stage, I had my PowerPoint ready to go. I had locked in at 10 minutes. I was focused. He hands me a slip of paper and it said this: in the end, people will judge you anyway. So don't live your life impressing others. Live your life impressing yourself. I got up on stage and I talked about how nervous I was. And I read that quote and I said, okay, now let the presentation begin. Because there were some other people that were up there that were clearly nervous and tried to fake the funk. And there was other people that weren't nervous at all and were very well polished. And I said, let's address the elephant in the room. I am nervous. I am scared, I would even say, borderline scared, because I didn't understand the power of positive thinking at that point, or and embrace it maybe as much. And yet I started with that saying, and that set the tone for me. And I realized that my father, in his own creativity, he loves taking old things and turning them into new things. My mom loves doing stained glass. I look at my immediate family and it's like, wow, we're all artists. We're all creators. And everybody in this world is an artist and a creator. The difference is, are you willing to put it out there yourself? My mom 10 years ago started doing stained glass as a hobby because she got old and her arthritis kicked in and she couldn't play volleyball anymore. And now she does stained glass, and now she teaches other people how to do stained glass. And she got to a point where she was teaching, taking these classes, and now she does it down in her basement and creates artwork for other people, and she loves it because that's her creative outlet. And she's willing to do it and cut outside the lines and take a pattern and turn it into her own and say, yeah, I created this, and let me share it with the world. What right now in your world is stopping you from doing the same? What is your hidden talent or ability? What do you have that the world needs? These questions, like all questions I ask, are not rhetorical. Transform the pain of watching others. Man, I can do better than that, right? Transform that pain into passion to find your purpose. What is it you lay awake at night thinking about? What creative outlet do you already do that you do not share with others? The greatest ideas in the world are not found in the libraries. They are not found in the museums. They are found in graveyards for people that were unwilling to put themselves out there. Embrace who they are. Let the world hear their song. Birds do not refuse to sing. They sing every day. I couldn't tell you the difference between a bad singing bird and a good singing bird because they sing and it's all beautiful. And the most beautiful thing you can do as an individual is be a creator in this world. Every day you show up to life, you have three choices. You can consume, you can contribute, or you can create. The more you put into this world, the more you get out. The more that you create, the more you'll be able to take from this world. The more you can take, the more you can give to others. It's that simple. You have to choose to give first. Give of yourself. And then what you find yourself when you became when you already are a creator. Not even. I became a creator. I became an influencer, or I'm a content creator. Fuck that. You're just taking words you already had and putting it on a goddamn meme, right? Fine. We're all creators, right? I'll say this. I will give credit to content creators because at least they're creating something. We're all creative in our own ways. And what you find is, I will speak from my perspective, not your perspective. What I found is the more that I create, the more I find other creatives, the more I find other creative outlets, the more I appreciate what others put out in this world. So my brother, for example, he has an album and he has a second album that recently came out. I was listening to the new songs and I love it. And I've seen him live. And obviously I'm extremely biased because he's my younger brother and I've been listening to him play guitar for 20 years. I fucking love him. And he speaks about things that are relevant to me because we grew up in a similar time and place in this world. So it's good. And when he came up with this song, the song that I use, it's called a thinking song. This song came out like 7-8 years ago. And I look at it and I think about the words and I think about my brother. Him and I could not be more different. He's a hippie who lived in Hawaii for 5 years and hasn't had an address in 15. That's who he is. And he's like my best friend. I love him. I'm a guy that's got 19 years in the military and owns a business and looks at numbers all day. And yet, he appreciated my book and I appreciate his music. And we found independently thoughts that cross over. So I highlighted 3 different lines from his 3 verses in the thinking song. And I see that as a creator, we're doing the same thing. So one of the lines is, he says, and now I try to use this language to take these thoughts from my head to my pen, because though I don't speak of my dead friends or the circumstances often, the blow never softens or yields. My brother's lost friends to suicide and drug overdose. I've lost friends in the military. And yet we found the same thing. We've taken our pain, I put it in right here, right? Transform. I use this language to take these thoughts from my head to my pen. I wrote a fucking book. He wrote down the lyrics and then sang them for the world to hear. We came from the same place, the same pain point, and yet our creative outlet was different. And now that we've created and we've put it out there, we can now come together. This next line he puts, chasing traces of remembrance and reverence of relevant friends and acquaintances and faceless and nameless names and faces. And while my mind is racing through these photo albums and quotations, all these people and places are far from me. It's a lot of words there. What I get out of that is I look at the people I see today and relate them back to people I knew in the past. I hear things, photo albums, like visual images or quotations, things people say, and relate them back to a different time. I was about to say a better time. It wasn't a better time. It was a different time. I remember the times growing up, this time of year, it's fall, hunting with my family, and the love I had for my grandparents and the love I had for my dad's side of the family, especially, and all the time we spent together and those really good times. And now the opportunity is for me to either A, recognize these good times with others, or B, create these good times. Take these times that I was able to embrace and enjoy, and how do I create them with others as I move forward? And what I realized about those people, my grandparents in particular, they didn't hesitate. They spoke what was on their mind. My grandmother was the classic speak softly and carry a big stick. When she spoke, everyone listened. She only spoke from the heart. She had a 6th grade education. My grandfather never graduated, did high school, and yet I learned more about life from the two of them because of how they spoke to me. They took their time with me. When I went to their house, we would visit them. It was a visit. And then my grandma always said, thanks for stopping by and visiting. It was an intentional time we took together. And that's something I need to remember in this fast-paced life. Where I want to go is to take the time to visit with people, create new stories, new ideas with others. And then this last line my brother speaks about, and it's right directly to what I read about in my book. He says, to finally be somebody doing something with what he has, rather than saying again and again that I can't and I won't anymore from this day forward, because Lord knows the past is set in stone and the present is yours to mold and use for future uses. My favorite line in the entire song. I write about this right in my book. Shit words that do not serve. I can't, I won't, I don't. Society, people do not give a shit about what you can't, won't, or don't do. What can you do? The past is set in stone. The present yours to mold, to use for future uses. Often, people are stuck living in the past, thinking about the future, and not embracing the present. This line resonates with me then more than any more because, again, going back to language. When you tell yourself and others you can't, you won't, you don't, you're absolutely true. It's absolutely factual. And when you spend time and energy refueling the cup of bullshit, this cup of what you can't do, you won't do, you don't do, you're continually implanting negative thoughts into your head. Transform that into what you can do. How can you be creative today? How can you contribute to others' creativity? What do you consume and how does it drive your creative outlet? Answer those 3 questions. Get out there, find your creative outlet, and share it with the world. Everything I'm talking about goes back to my 3 steps for successful life. Do the fucking thing, tell the fucking world, show the fuck up. I'll see you next week.